Welcome to World News Greenty, the place where global events come into focus. From breaking headlines to in-depth international coverage, we bring you the news that matters, fast and fact-checked. Stay with us, stay informed, and stay ahead. If you find our content valuable, don't forget to like the video, share it with others who care about the world, and subscribe to our channel for daily updates that keep you connected to the pulse of the planet. Here are the main contents of today's news. Here are the specific developments of the Russia-Ukraine war in the 3 days of May 20 to 22, 2025, with notable hotspots and military activities. As of May 23, 2025, the situation in the Middle East, especially the conflict between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip, is complicated with many factors of military escalation and regional tension. Here are the details of China's military exercises in the Taiwan Strait between May 15th and 24th, 2025. In today's news.
Below is a detailed account of the Russia-Ukraine war developments during May 2025, highlighting major hotspots and key military activities. May 2025. Russia strikes Ukrainian training ground. The Russian military launched missiles at a shooting range in Sumy province, northern Ukraine, killing 6 soldiers and injuring over 10 others. Ukraine forms first motorcycle assault unit. Ukraine's National Guard established its first motorcycle assault unit under the Skala regiment, aiming to enhance mobility and rapid response on the battlefield. May 21, 2025. Ukraine launches massive drone strikes on Russian territory. Ukraine deployed hundreds of drones targeting Russia's Tula, Ryazan, and Oryol provinces, focusing on military-industrial facilities, including a semiconductor plant in Bolkov. Airports in Moscow were temporarily shut down due to security concerns over the UAV attacks. Russia claims successful interceptions. Russian authorities reported the interception of more than 150 Ukrainian drones during this wave of attacks. May 22, 2025. Russia expands offensive in Kharkiv and Donetsk. Russian forces advanced deeper into Volchansk, Kharkiv province, splitting the city and surrounding Ukrainian defensive positions. In Donetsk, Russia formed a large encirclement south of Konstantinovka and intensified assaults in areas like Otradnoye and Komar. Ukraine continues drone attacks on Russian soil. Ukraine continued to deploy drones against Russian border areas, including Bryansk province, resulting in at least 1 death and 1 injury. Prisoner exchange. On May 16th, Russia and Ukraine reached an agreement in Istanbul to exchange 1,000 prisoners from each side. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed preparations were underway for what would be the largest prisoner exchange since the conflict began. Detailed analysis of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, May 20 to 22, 2025, focusing on key strategic regions such as Kharkiv, Donetsk, Kursk, and Ukraine's cross-border drone strikes. Kharkiv, Russia intensifies assault on Volchansk. In Kharkiv province, Russian forces pushed deeper into the city of Volchansk, cutting off the city and surrounding Ukrainian defensive positions. Once a tourist hub, Volchansk has been nearly destroyed in previous attacks and now has no remaining permanent residents. Donetsk, Russia advances toward Pokrovsk and Konstantinovka. In Donetsk, Russian troops launched offensives between Pokrovsk and Konstantinovka, breaking through Ukraine's defensive lines. Pro-Russian military bloggers claim that Russian forces had breached Ukrainian defenses in the area. Kursk and Sumy, Russia plans to establish a security buffer zone. Russian President Vladimir Putin visited Kursk province near the Ukrainian border for the first time since Russia claimed to have pushed Ukrainian forces out of the area. During his visit, Putin met with local officials and volunteers and discussed creating a security buffer zone in Ukraine's Sumy province to prevent further artillery and UAV attacks on Russian territory. Ukraine's largest ever drone offensive on Russia. Between May 19 and 22, Ukraine launched its largest drone offensive since the start of the war, with over 485 UAVs targeting various regions across Russia, including Moscow and Crimea. The drones aimed at strategic targets, causing fires and damage at an oil refinery in Ryazan and a semiconductor plant in Oryol, which produces components for Russia's Sukhoi fighter jets and Iskander and Kinzhal missiles. Negotiation status and war outlook. Despite the agreement on the prisoner exchange, no direct peace talks are currently planned. Russia refuses to recognize the legitimacy of Ukraine's government and President Zelensky, while Ukraine remains firm in its stance against withdrawing from Russian-occupied territories. Overall assessment. Russia is ramping up its attacks in strategic regions like Kharkiv and Donetsk, while also planning to extend control to Sumy province. Ukraine is leveraging drone strikes to target critical military and industrial infrastructure within Russia, aiming to weaken Russian combat capabilities. The prospects for a short-term peace agreement remain bleak, as both sides maintain firm positions and continue to escalate the conflict.
As of May 23, 2025, the situation in the Middle East, particularly the conflict between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip, has become increasingly complex, marked by escalating military actions and regional tensions. Below is a detailed overview. Israel-Gaza conflict, military escalation and humanitarian crisis. Renewed fighting. On March 18, 2025, Israel unexpectedly launched a large-scale airstrike campaign on the Gaza Strip, effectively ending a nearly 2-month ceasefire. Over 400 Palestinians were killed on the first day alone, the majority of them women and children. Ground offensive. In early April, Israel began a ground operation in the Shuja'iyya area east of Gaza City, resulting in at least 60 civilian deaths. Severe humanitarian situation. Israel has restricted Palestinian access to around 70% of Gaza's territory through no-go zones and forced evacuation orders. Terms for ending hostilities. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Israel is willing to end the conflict if Hamas releases all hostages, disarms, relinquishes power, and its leadership is expelled from Gaza. Regional tensions. Iran, Turkey, and the Houthis. Iran-Israel. The confrontation between Iran and Israel has escalated from a shadow war into direct conflict, plunging the Middle East into unprecedented instability. Turkey-Israel. Tensions between Ankara and Tel Aviv, particularly in Syria and Gaza, are expected to escalate in 2025, as both countries vie for influence in the region. Houthis Israel. The Houthi militia in Yemen fired missiles toward Israel, injuring at least 3 people. Israel has vowed a strong response to the attacks. Diplomatic efforts and international reactions. Ceasefire talks. Negotiations brokered by Qatar to end the fighting in Gaza have made little progress. International response. The UK, France, and Germany have called for the restoration of the ceasefire in Gaza and reaffirmed that a two-state solution is the only path to lasting peace and security for both Israelis and Palestinians. Below is a timeline of key developments in the Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza from March to May 2025. March 2025, ceasefire collapse and renewed fighting. March 1st, the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas officially expired. March 18th, Israel resumed airstrikes on Gaza, citing Hamas's rejection of a U.S. proposed ceasefire extension. Simultaneously, Israel cut power to a desalination plant in Gaza and blocked humanitarian aid trucks from entering the Strip. April 2025, escalation and rising casualties. April 6th, Hamas launched a volley of rockets into Israel in retaliation for Israeli strikes on civilians in Gaza. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, claimed to have intercepted 5 out of about 10 rockets, while several struck residential areas in Ashkelon and Ashdod, injuring at least 12 people. May 2025, Operation Gideon's Chariot and Humanitarian Emergency. May 16th, Israel launched a major military campaign called Gideon's Chariot, aimed at defeating Hamas and rescuing hostages. May 17th, Hamas confirmed its participation in a new round of ceasefire negotiations in Doha, Qatar. May 18th, Israel officially commenced the Gideon's Chariot operation, marking a significant escalation in the conflict. May 20th, EU foreign ministers agreed to review their cooperation agreements with Israel, including trade, due to concerns about the humanitarian situation in Gaza. May 22nd, Israel issued evacuation warnings for 14 neighborhoods in northern Gaza, including Beit Lahia and Jabalia, amid mounting international backlash over its military campaign. Humanitarian situation. Nearly all of Gaza's 2.3 million residents have been displaced at least once during the current conflict. Severe shortages of food, clean water, fuel, and medical supplies have pushed Gaza into an even deeper humanitarian crisis. Ceasefire negotiations. Hamas has offered to release half of the remaining living hostages in exchange for a 6 to 8 week ceasefire and the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners by Israel. However, the latest ceasefire talks in Doha have derailed as Israel continues its large-scale military offensive, resulting in dozens of Palestinian deaths each day. China's military drills near Taiwan Strait, May 15 to 21, 2025. May 20th, large-scale amphibious landing drill in Fujian. May 20th, the People's Liberation Army, PLA, of China conducted a large-scale amphibious landing exercise off the coast of Fujian province near the Taiwan Strait. The drill coincided with the one-year anniversary of Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's inauguration. Participating forces, the 73rd Group Army, stationed in Xiamen, less than 30 kilometers from Taiwan-controlled Kinmen Islands. Exercise details. The drill focused on nearshore driving maneuvers and amphibious landings using Type 05 armored amphibious vehicles. These vehicles moved at speeds up to 40 km/h across the sea, carrying heavy weaponry and practice breaching beach defenses. Objective: to enhance amphibious combat capabilities and send a clear warning to Taiwan about China's military readiness. Taiwan's response defense posture. Taiwan reported 15 PLA aircraft and 8 PLA Navy vessels crossing the Taiwan Strait's median line between 6 a.m. on May 20th and 6 a.m. on May 21st. President Lai's address. In his speech marking 1 year in office, President Lai emphasized Taiwan's willingness to negotiate with China on equal terms, while reaffirming the nation's commitment to strengthening its defenses and preserving sovereignty. Context and analysis. Recent Chinese exercises, including the Thunder over the Strait 2025A in April, reflect an uptick in military activities around Taiwan. These drills are used as tools of pressure and political signaling, especially during key moments such as Taiwan's political anniversaries. The PLA's amphibious exercises near Taiwan also highlight preparations for potential conflict scenarios, even as Beijing publicly maintains that peaceful unification remains its top priority. International reactions to China's drills near Taiwan, May 15 to 21, 2025. United States, strengthened alliances, warning of escalation. The U.S. labeled China's exercises as invasion rehearsals and ramped up military cooperation with regional allies to counter the growing threat from Beijing. The U.S. Secretary of Defense visited Japan and announced the elevation of the U.S. forces. Japan Command into a combat-ready headquarters, aimed at bolstering rapid response capabilities in the Indo-Pacific. Japan, deep concern and defense reform. Japan expressed deep concern over China's drills near Taiwan, stressing the critical importance of peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait for the global community. Japan is reforming its self-defense forces, enhancing counterstrike capabilities, and boosting joint defense efforts with the U.S. in response to regional threats. New Zealand, call for regional peace. New Zealand's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Winston Peters warned against the militarization of the Pacific, emphasizing the need to maintain peace and stability in the face of China's increasing military presence. European Union, opposition to unilateral provocations. The European Union condemned China's large-scale drills around Taiwan, stating that such actions escalate cross-strait tensions and urge the preservation of peace and stability in the region. ASEAN caution and dialogue. Advocacy. ASEAN nations responded with caution, calling on all parties to exercise restraint and resolve disputes through peaceful dialogue to preserve regional stability. Taiwan boosting defense. Advocating peace. President Lai Ching-te urged peaceful dialogue with China, but reaffirmed Taiwan's dedication to strengthening its defense capabilities. Taiwan is advancing the development of unmanned aerial vehicle (UAV) units and collaborating with the U.S. to enhance defense systems, drawing strategic inspiration from Ukraine's defense model. Thank you for watching and supporting World News Greenty. Your time, trust, and attention mean the world to us. We're committed to bringing you accurate, timely, and relevant global news every day. Stay tuned, and thank you for being part of our growing community.